The sound of the heavy oak door slamming shut echoed through the sleek, glass-walled boardroom. It was a sound that symbolized both the moment of utter humiliation and the spark that would ignite an unrelenting journey toward vengeance and triumph. It was the moment when Monica Hayes, the ambitious black CEO, stood at the front of the room, trying to keep her composure as the entire board of directors laughed at her, dismissed, belittled, and laughed out of the very space she had worked so hard to enter. Monica, once the rising star at the company, had spent years climbing the corporate ladder. Her intelligence, tenacity, and innovative strategies had earned her the role of CEO. But the men around the board table, a group of mostly white, older, traditional executives, had never taken her seriously. They resented her success and undermined her ideas at every turn, dismissing her leadership and vision. On that fateful day, Monica had just pitched her plan for a bold merger that could transform the company into an industry leader. But instead of respect or support, she was met with scorn. The CEO of the company, a man named Robert Van Allen, led the mocking charge. His sharp, sneering laugh reverberated as he glanced at his colleagues, who followed suit. "A merger with that small tech startup? What are you thinking, Monica?" He had scoffed. "You're out of your depth. Stick to what you know." The word stung, but what hurt the most was the collective agreement of the others around the table. They didn't see her as their equal. They saw her as an outsider, an anomaly in a world that had always been theirs to control. As the laughter subsided, Monica felt the weight of the room's ridicule. But what they didn't see was the fire that was quietly building inside her. They thought they had broken her, but instead they had sparked something much stronger, a fierce determination to prove them all wrong. Monica's journey to becoming a CEO had not been easy. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, she had always been the one to stand out, first as the top student in her high school, then as a brilliant undergraduate at a prestigious university. She had never been afraid of the challenge, and her rise in the corporate world was a testament to her grit and intelligence. Her career at the company had begun in the finance department, where she quickly made a name for herself by identifying opportunities for efficiency and growth that no one else saw. She had worked long hours, tirelessly proving herself over and over again. However, despite her credentials and accomplishments, Monica had always felt the invisible barriers set by the company's culture, a culture that had never been designed with someone like her in mind. Even as she ascended the ranks, she faced microaggressions and outright prejudice. Some colleagues doubted her ability to handle the responsibility, while others outright questioned her leadership. Yet Monica pushed forward, knowing that every door she opened for herself would help to pave the way for others who looked like her. By the time she became the CEO, she had earned every accolade and achieved every victory. But she knew the boardroom was where the real power lay. Unfortunately, it was also the place where she would be met with her greatest challenge yet, one that would push her to the edge and beyond. That day in the boardroom was supposed to be different. Monica had spent weeks preparing for the presentation, outlining every financial projection, every strategic advantage, and every potential obstacle. She knew this merger could elevate the company into a new era. She could already picture the headlines and the recognition that would follow. But the moment she stepped into that room, everything changed. As she spoke, the board members exchanged glances, their dismissive expressions growing more pronounced. Robert Van Allen, the CEO, was the first to speak. "I don't think this is the right move for the company. It's risky, and frankly, it's a waste of resources." Monica tried to explain her reasoning, countering his points with data and past examples of similar successful mergers. But the more she spoke, the more the board members closed ranks, their minds already made up. Then in a chilling moment, Robert interrupted her, laughing loudly as he did. "You want to merge with a company that's barely 2 years old?" His voice dripped with condescension. "You really think this is the future of our company?" His words, laced with mockery, were followed by similar jeers from the rest of the room. Monica's heart raced, her pulse quickening. The weight of their laughter felt like a slap across her face. She had expected resistance. This was corporate life, after all, but never this level of disdain. She could feel the sting of their prejudice, the unmistakable belief that someone like her could never be in charge of a company like theirs. Without another word, Monica stood up, straightened her blazer, and walked out of the room. The door slammed behind her, marking the end of the conversation. But little did they know, It was only the beginning of something much bigger than any of them could have imagined. After the board meeting, Monica returned to her office, her mind spinning. The humiliation of that moment was unbearable. But what hurt even more was the realization that they had dismissed her simply because of who she was, a black woman in a world dominated by white men. But rather than giving in to despair, she made a promise to herself. She would not let them win. The next few days were filled with sleepless nights and countless hours of research. Monica pored over every financial report, every business strategy, and every case study that could help her turn the tables. She contacted legal experts, industry veterans, and even former employees who had insight into the company's history. Slowly but surely, she pieced together a plan, one that would not only prove the board wrong, but would also give her the ultimate power over the very company that had humiliated her. The plan was simple. She would buy them out. It was risky, it was bold, but Monica knew it was the only way to truly take control. Monica's plan to acquire the company was not a simple one. It involved navigating through a complex web of stockholders, private equity firms, and legal loopholes. But Monica was no stranger to complexity. She had spent years mastering the art of negotiation, and she knew that this was her moment to use every ounce of her expertise. She began by quietly securing as many shares of the company as she could. Her first move was to approach key investors who had grown disillusioned with the current board's leadership. They were tired of the same old, outdated strategies. They were ready for change. Monica knew how to sell her vision to them, and soon she had enough shares to start making a real impact. But it wasn't just about acquiring stock. It was about making the right alliances. She reached out to influential figures in the business world, leveraging her connections and negotiating with strategic partners who could help her gain the upper hand. She worked tirelessly to assemble a coalition that would back her takeover. As Monica's influence grew, the board became aware of her intentions. Robert Van Allen, in particular, was furious. He had underestimated her from the start, and now she was threatening to take everything he had built. He made several attempts to block her, using legal challenges and underhanded tactics to slow her down. But Monica was prepared for this. She knew how to fight back. The battle played out in the media, with both sides making their case to the public. Monica's supporters rallied behind her, praising her vision and leadership, while the board's loyalists tried to paint her as an opportunist. The public's opinion was divided, but Monica knew that ultimately it wasn't the press that mattered, it was the shareholders. And slowly but surely, she won them over, one meeting at a time. After months of strategic maneuvering, legal battles, and public scrutiny, Monica finally emerged victorious. The day came when the board was forced to accept her offer. Robert Van Allen and the others were ousted, and Monica officially became the owner of the company. She had done what they thought was impossible. She had taken control of the very organization that had once mocked her. Standing in front of the same boardroom that had laughed her out just months before, Monica smiled. This time, it wasn't a moment of humiliation. It was a moment of triumph. She had proven not only to the board, but to herself that no obstacle, no matter how big or small, could stop her from achieving her dreams. Monica's takeover of the company was just the beginning. She immediately set to work on implementing the very strategies she had pitched during that fateful board meeting. The merger she had proposed, it went forward and brought the company to new heights, propelling it into an era of unprecedented growth. Under her leadership, the company thrived, and Monica became a symbol of perseverance, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, success was possible. She didn't just want to change the company, she wanted to change the industry, to create a space where people like her could thrive without fear of being laughed out of the room. And as for Robert Van Allen and the rest of the old board, they became a cautionary tale, a reminder that underestimating someone because of their race, gender, or background would always come back to bite you. Monica Hayes was a force to be reckoned with, and she was here to stay.